Republicans and Democrats have promised us the world. Medicare for all, no child left behind, equity, safer streets, and police reform, an end to the housing crisis, a more peaceful world, and a sound economy. Government is the barrier to all of these things. If you're sick of the lies, fancy slogans, and broken promises, then join us in the Libertarian Party and help bring a real free market to the U.S. and help set every individual free. LP.org. That's LP.org. Hello, and welcome back to Libertarian Los Angeles. I'm Sean Osborne. Thanks for tuning into the podcast. Please subscribe to it, like it, leave a comment, and all that good stuff. Today on the show, we have Nickolas Wildstar. He's running for Fresno City Council. How's it going?
It's going pretty good. I'm excited about the campaign and happy to be here to speak with you about it.
Yeah, so what I know you've run for office quite a few times. What was it that made you want to run for office, for that particular office this time?
Well, my continual calling for office comes from or stems from just the lack of accountable leadership. The first time I ran for office was governor of California back in 2014, and that was mainly due to the swelling population of homelessness that continues to grow here in California, as well as the quality of life going down severely, the cost of living going up sharply, and those are still factors that motivate me to run to this day. So as you said, I have ran for office before. Not only did I run for governor in 2014, I ran again in 2018. I was the nominated Libertarian candidate for governor. And then in 2021, I ran in the recall election for Gavin Newsom. I also ran for Fullerton City Council when I used to live in Orange County. But about 7 years ago, I moved to Fresno. And since I touched down, I've been running for office ever since. I ran for Fresno mayor when I first got here. I ran for Fresno City Council District 3. And now I'm running for Fresno City Council District 5. I just moved recently to the southeast area of Fresno. So now I'm putting my name in the hat for the race for District 5 Fresno City Council.
Right on. Well, definitely the issues that got you running for office have only gotten worse here. So I think you're probably more motivated now than before. I don't know how is like the homeless issue there in Fresno, because I mean I live near downtown Los Angeles, so I'm right in the eye of the storm. So I don't know how it is in other places.
Yeah, it is pretty awful down in LA, especially Skid Row. I saw that area myself when I used to live in Southern California grow tremendously. You got homeless encampments on the street, down by the beaches in Venice and Santa Monica, out in Orange County where I used to live. That corridor near the Angel Stadium went from just a few people to hundreds. And they ended up having to shut that down, I believe, after a couple of years. But I saw the same thing happening here I see the same thing happening here in Fresno. The homeless population went from a couple of hundred people to now almost 2,000 people plus. So, and those are just the people that are accounted for when they do their point in place counts. To actually go around the city to see who is actually living on the streets. I've participated in that before, but there's also people that are not taken into account, people that are sleeping out of their cars or living out of hotels or on their friend's couch or something like that. So the homeless situation continues to get worse here in California, and I definitely would like to do something to help reduce that. That's why my plan to build homes, 3D homes, is the best way, I believe, the most economical way to address the issue without taxpayers having to foot more tax dollars towards the effort. And here in California, I believe it's almost $200 billion that Gavin Newsom and state officials have used towards reducing homelessness, but yet we don't see any type of reduction in that, and especially when it comes to getting people off the street. So that's what I'm planning to do here in Fresno, where I to be elected. I would be bringing one of those 3D home manufacturing facilities to Fresno to not only build 3D homes for those in need or to address our affordable housing crisis as well, but to also provide jobs, high-paying jobs to those who need it. So there is a multi-tiered solution in just that 3D home proposal being taken into account.
How does that work? I mean, you're talking about bringing a company. I mean, do you have a company in mind? I mean, I really don't know much about that. Like, is there several companies that do that kind of thing? How would you facilitate bringing them in? And does that just make it affordable for people to buy it, since you say taxpayers wouldn't be paying for it?
Yes, indeed. Well, it's an opportunity for the city to generate some revenue if they're selling these 3D home models as homes that people can purchase and buy. Then some of these models, they can cost around $10,000 for a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. I'm pretty sure that price tag has went up a little bit, but it's still a lot less costly than some of these proposals by city officials to either renovate a hotel for $10 million or start a new housing project. Like here in Fresno, there's a project called SADA, the Southeast District Plan, which would cost about $8 billion, billion with a B. And the mayor recently proposed this, but my solution is actually more affordable for the taxpayer. But it's basically exactly as it sounds. There are 3D machines that can build these homes in less than 24 hours. Some models can, again, be built in less than 24 hours. So we can have houses literally available in a matter of days, if not weeks, to address homelessness and affordable housing. But as far as the proposal is concerned, there are companies that offer it already. There's a company called Mighty Buildings, and in the Bay Area, I believe Oakland, they already have a business that provides these 3D homes, which have actually been provided as an affordable housing solution down in Rancho Mirage. They started building 3D homes to provide affordable housing, and we could do the same thing here in Fresno. So as outlandish and far-fetched as my solutions may seem, they are grounded in practicability, and I do have examples of that to back it up. So they're not just pipe dreams. They literally are a reality we can bring here to Fresno.
Yeah, that sounds cool. The idea of all this 3D printing stuff, it really seems to make things a lot cheaper to do things and just a lot easier to deal with.
Yes, exactly. Well, like I said before, these 3D homes can build homes in less than 24 hours. And in addition to that, they will reduce the amount of waste that is generated during a typical home build. Lots of wood get wasted, lots of stucco and paint and all sorts of materials get wasted during home building, and not to mention the materials themselves. Some of them are poisonous, and with the 3D home building, it give us an opportunity to build these homes, reduce the amount of trash that's ending up in landfills, and we could be using recycled materials to build these homes. So it's so many different benefits in just providing the 3D home option. And just because it hasn't been taken into account before by city officials or even state officials doesn't mean it isn't a practical solution to address homelessness or affordable housing. It definitely is the top tier way of doing things. So that's what I plan on doing once I'm elected to Fresno City Council.
You know, that is pretty quick too, man. That's faster than Amish put up a barn.
It probably works just as hard as the Amish, I'm sure. But you still need electricians to come in and do wiring. You still need plumbers to come in and do plumbing, so the house has water and power. So contractors will still be needed, will be able to provide new technological skill training for those people operating the equipment. But it'll be all hands on deck. So anybody with a trade skill will definitely be in need. And again, they'll have a steady job where they'll be getting paid a lot more than maybe they have in other jobs that they have. I actually worked construction before, doing housing, roofing, flooring, siding, the whole nine. And you'll work on a project and it'll be great pay, but then once that project is over, you got to start looking for the next project to keep that income coming in. Well, this again would be a way for somebody to have a steady job doing construction and be able to, provide a living for themselves and their family.
Where, you read my mind on the question about the electricity and stuff. I was wondering how that would come about because I didn't think that was something that was printed into things. But where's the land that they would want to put these on? It's been a long time since I've been to Fresno. I'm sure it's changed quite a bit. Probably expanded a bit here and there. But where would these houses go? Is it like on the outskirts of town, or are there places in town, or what's up with that?
Yeah, there's tons of empty lots in town all around Fresno. There's lots of farmland that has been cleared, old farmland. People have, again, different lots that they've purchased that are just sitting empty. So the city definitely could make an offer to those people to buy that land, build affordable homes. We have an old IRS building that takes up maybe about a good 5 or 6 acres of land. And it's just been wasting away for maybe the past 8 years or so. So we definitely could utilize that land right there to possibly even build the manufacturing facility there to start providing these 3D homes, or even just retrofit it all together to be a facility where people can go and do vendor activities, community gardens, anything. But the land isn't being used as best as it could be or should be. So I'll be making an effort to speak with the people of Fresno through town hall meetings just to find out how they feel about building projects in their neighborhoods. But there's already land delegated towards residential development in the city. It's just they're not building fast enough. And when they do start building, it ends up costing the taxpayer tens of millions of dollars, if not more. So we can definitely reduce those costs with these 3D homes. And like I said, generate some revenue for the city by actually selling them and making some money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of the other things, obviously I think as a libertarian, we recognize is some of the policies that put people on the streets in the first place, by not allowing more construction or, rent control and these kind of things. Is that an issue over there?
It certainly is. There's a lot of developers that would love to start building, but the government red tape prevents them from doing so. Zoning, permits, licensure, all of this sort of thing. The permission slips that we're asking the government for that we shouldn't need anyway to begin with. Right. So once I am elected, I'll be making an effort to reduce those permits, zoning fees, license fees. I would like to suspend business licenses for a year or waive them at least to allow more businesses to be in development here in Fresno, because that's another thing that's happening, is that the exodus in California continues, and Fresno is no different. So we have lots of businesses that are closing their doors, people losing their jobs, and the opportunities for the community are being reduced. We should be expanding that and increasing that however possible. But when you have government officials continually getting in the way and preventing that growth, then it's not going to happen at all. And we're seeing the slow pace of that in Fresno, but we can certainly speed it up. And I'll be doing everything that I can in my power to speed up that effort.
That's one of the things that's got Spencer Pratt down here in Los Angeles shooting up in the polls so high. Is, he's talking about all that red tape that those people in the Palisades and stuff are having to deal with to build on their own property, to rebuild where there was already something there. They have to jump through hoops and all this nonsense. And you and I know that free people don't have to ask for permission, right? You shouldn't have to ask to build on your own land. It's just it's insanity, and it's wild that these progressive policies here in California. I know a lot of progressives have their heart in the right place, but man, their politics, they just don't learn that it doesn't work. It has the opposite effect.
Right. I mean, the government overreach is outrageous. If they're not dictating what you can do with your own property, whether it be your home or your car or your body, they're dictating what happens in your bedroom or what happens in your workplace or what happens in public spaces. So we definitely should be reducing government as much as possible. It's gotten way too big, and they continue to be dictatorial. And we don't live in a dictatorship. We live in a free country. So if we're going to be free people, we need to start acting like that. But in order for us to start acting like it, we got to first think like free people. And a lot of people have been conditioned to government control. And so I do my best to remind people while I'm on the campaign trail that government works for you. You don't work for the government. So they shouldn't be overseers dictating everything in your life. If anything, it should be the other way around. We, the people, should be dictating everything that government does and allowing them to have the authority to do that said job. So we need to remember the tenets that made this country great, and that's respecting people's liberty first and foremost. And if you're not doing anything to hurt anybody, then there's no reason why you should be treated as a criminal.
Yeah. One of the things I like what you said is, getting rid of like the red tape and fees that businesses have to do business in California. Right. Los Angeles, I mean, we've had so many legacy restaurants closing down, things that have been around 100 years.
Right.
Just because they can't hang with, between the minimum wage laws and all the hoops that they have to go through. And, obviously inflation's, not helped them a bit. So what kind of fees they got up there in Fresno?
Well, as I said, the business fees are a bit outrageous. Some of them can cost thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars just to be in operation. Permits as well, vendor fees. If you have a small business or even just a taco stand, or, the guy that sells bacon wrapped hot dogs has to get a vendor's license just to go out there and sell food to the public. So it's just a way for the government to continue to scrutinize businesses and prevent opportunities from being available to the public. So it's a lot of people that don't see it that way. They think it's a way to provide more safety and security for them as consumers. But the best way to find out that it's a bad product, of course, is to find out yourself. There are things that are regulated, that are licensed and approved by the government, that are harmful towards we the people. So the threat of bad products being provided to the consumer is always there. What government needs to do is just take a back seat and be there to protect those people that can't protect themselves, and or if someone gets hurt or is harmed by a business, to come in and help them when it comes to recourse for them being harmed. So, but instead they're taking this, as I said before, a dictatorial position where they're positioning themselves as a preventer of innovation, of development, of growth. And it's holding us back as a nation. So we need to think differently and start believing in our fellow man. And that's something that we've shifted away from in this country, not only because of the national government, or the federal government, but state government, city government, just on down to the local level. And that's where we should be making our stand, which is why I hope the people of Fresno do something to change the way that our city has been governed, because every year it seems like it's a new scandal happening where you have city officials embezzling, fraud to the tune of tens of millions, even hundreds of millions of dollars not being accounted for. And that's taxpayers' money that could be going towards bettering the community, building more community gardens so we have fruits and vegetables readily available, building better parks, building better roads, since people always complain about how bad the roads are, but how much do we see them actually getting better? And some of those infrastructure improvements take years before we even see things get even better. And I just believe there's a better way to do things, and more efficiently and more affordable.
I'm glad you mentioned the parks. I actually work for the Parks and Rec here in Los Angeles. And I can say without a shadow of a doubt, the city neglects some parks. Like one of the parks I work at in Boyle Heights, it's had the copper taken from it at least a couple of times. They spent millions of dollars to fix the bathrooms. And I went into work about a month and a half ago or something, and somebody had taken all the piping out of the place, and the whole park had no water. I mean, this is after they've fixed the bathrooms at least 2 or 3 times. Somebody knocked down all the light poles and took all the copper out of them. I mean, they don't protect what they have. And now here in Los Angeles, they want us to pay more property tax so that they can, protect these things and they're
I heard about that.
fix all the stuff that they didn't protect in the first place. So, just nonsense. Or you have a park like MacArthur Park. I used to also work at MacArthur Park, and MacArthur Park's been a mess since the 60s. It was bad when I worked there, and it's even worse now. And finally, I think the federal government went in and raided. It's got to be pretty bad for a libertarian like myself to think that was a good thing that they went in and cleaned up that park, because it was just that bad. It's got to be pretty bad for somebody like me to think, oh man, at least somebody cleaned it up, because that place was wild.
Yeah, I've heard about the situation that's going on down there, and how the city officials pretty much buried a tax increase into their latest budget proposal to help, like you said, protect those poles from being broken into, or the bathrooms, or whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. But I believe there's some sinister activity there. I mean, we trust the government blindly, hoping that they're doing their job as they said they would. Mm-hmm. But how often do we end up finding out through some watchdog group that things aren't as they're portrayed to be, and that there is some scandal going on, and there is some embezzlement, there is some cronyism, these people taking care of their friends and buddies and family members and padding their pockets with our tax dollars. And that definitely needs to end, but we don't have that many political insiders actually in office providing us with these details. The majority of the time it's provided to the public either through some watchdog group or a whistleblower, or a third-party entity, news agency, doing investigative reporting. But we should have accountable leadership, and it starts first with them taking that oath of office to uphold the United States Constitution, which they don't seem to be doing either. So it's up to we, the people, to be holding them accountable, and we can do so when we go to vote. If we don't like the way that they're doing things, we should be voting them out of office. Stop continuing to support the status quo and business as usual. A lot of people just get caught up in that fold too and think just because someone is in office that they're doing great and they'll vote for them again. Just give them that another term like they're begging for to actually do their job when they didn't do it the first time around. So don't give them another opportunity, and give that opportunity to someone else.
Yeah. Isn't the California Assembly trying to make a bill or a law that they to make it harder for people to do whistleblowing on, like, say, the fraud that was going on with, say, like the hospice care and those kind of things?
Yes, absolutely. That's why I would make a proposal once I'm city council member to create a law that would protect whistleblowers here in Fresno. I'm calling it the Speak Up Law because we should allow those people that work within these industries to be able to report the failures of them back to us, and we should be taking action on them when they do, instead of penalizing those people that actually step forward to let us know. So, and it shouldn't be in the dark. I mean, we got Edward Snowden, who famously and notoriously stepped up to tell us about the national surveillance program, but we continue to see our government officials like Donald Trump continue to support it and increase it even more when they've complained about it themselves.
Right.
So you can't talk about not being supportive of something during the campaign trail and how much it's affected you and others and complain about it. And then once you get that occupy that public position, not do anything. If anything, you're perpetuating it even more. So that trend of governing needs to stop. Mm-hmm. And as the Declaration of Independence said, if you don't like the government that you have an opportunity to, it's your duty to to create a new government that's going to reflect the people. And the way that we're going to be able to do that, I believe, is the best way to transition is just vote out the people with the outdated old way of doing things and vote in the people that would actually like to transform government towards something new. And that's exactly what I'm providing to voters.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, a lot of people, I mean, I don't know, man. It's crazy, like how, like, say Bush did all this stuff with the NSA and everything, and Obama promised to not do that stuff and reel it back. But once the Democrats get their hands on that power, then they want it, right? Then they got it, then they use it. And I think all Trump's done is open up the door for the next God help us, a socialist get in there and use this powers to surveil people and all the stuff that they do, just the expansion of the state. I like what you're talking about is like having Fresno as a place where you can, I guess nullification would be it, where you have a sanctuary in that sense. I know that word gets used in different ways, but a place where the citizens take the power back and nullify state laws and federal laws, because ultimately, if something goes to court, it's the people who are the judge. And if the people don't like it, they can nullify it.
Exactly. But you don't hear courtrooms actually informing jurors about jury nullification. And if you bring it up, most likely you won't get included in that jury. So those people aren't aware of it. Just, keep it on the hush until you get in that jury box and then speak with the other jurors about jury nullification. But I'm actually glad that you brought up that sanctuary statement, because that's actually one of the things that I'm planning on doing once I'm elected to city council, is declaring Fresno a constitutional sanctuary. So,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. So the city officials won't have to answer to state authority. They won't have to answer to the federal government. They'll be only answering to the people of Fresno. And declaring Fresno to be a constitutional sanctuary would essentially make us a constitutional Second Amendment city. It would make us a constitutional First Amendment city. It would make us a constitutional Fourth Amendment city. So a lot of people don't think about their right to bear arms or their right to freedom of speech or their right to be safe in their property without unreasonable search or seizure until they actually are being threatened with such a thing. So if it is declared a constitutional sanctuary, people can live freely without having to worry about the threat of government infringing on their constitutional rights.
Man, I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wish you were running for office down here, damn it.
Thank you very much. Hey, if I got elected governor in 2018, things would look a lot different in California. Trust me.
They sure would, man.
We wouldn't be the fifth largest economy in the world. We'd be the first.
Yeah.
And there wouldn't have been any lockdowns during COVID. We're seeing now in hindsight that it actually wasn't as threatening and life-threatening and dire to our living as much as they made it seem. You still have businesses that are around. Unfortunately, a lot of businesses were put out of business because they simply couldn't generate the revenue to keep their doors open. So Fresno is no different. There's a lot of businesses, like I said, that have shut their doors and are not coming back. And like you said, those legacy businesses that have been around for 50, 100 years now are having to close their doors and go out of business with a broken heart. But instead of them doing that, I would like to promote for them to continue to stay open, continue to grow and expand. And that's the type of development that I think the people of Fresno would appreciate.
Yeah, I think so. You know, going back to like you were talking about, say, vendors and hot dog vendors or taco vendors and stuff. I'm a big fan of taco trucks. But some of my friends who are not libertarians hate the idea of a taco truck being there without government regulations and stuff. Because like, well, somebody could get killed first before you do this and that. And I'm like, or I mean, even me as a blind person, I do hate it when they block the streets sometimes or the sidewalks. Sometimes people take over the street. So I see some of the arguments that somebody might have if they're blocking the street or, disrupting another business. How would you as a libertarian deal with those kind of issues?
Well, I'm with you. I love taco trucks too. So I definitely would see more expansion, more opportunities for them to be able to continue to be in business. But if the truck is having to pay $100 in gas and to run their generators and another $100 just to buy food to sell to others, and they're only making $100 in profit, then they're at a loss. So we're seeing a lot of food trucks actually stop providing those services to the public. But I think if the government went in so far as to provide public spaces for vendors, for food truck vendors to be providing their services to people, then that would actually be an opportunity for more people to be able to support those businesses. So that's actually what I'm advocating for, is transforming some of these empty lots into food truck markets, vendor markets, where they will be able to set up shop and people can support them. And as I said before, the fear of you being harmed by a product is always going to be there, with or without government regulation. There's times where I've gone to a restaurant, a large chain restaurant, and have gotten sick by their food. you can go to, I don't want to say too many names because I don't want nobody to try to sue me, but you can go to some of these major restaurants and some of their food will be undercooked. They'll have sanitation issues, etc. And so code enforcement is always going to be there to provide a layer of protection for people buying foods. So no business is not going to be able to skate around that. They'll still have to adhere to those standards. But having to pay an exorbitant fee in order to be in business is unnecessary. That's actually what's reducing that opportunity for more and more businesses. So we just need to get out of the way and stop letting government be the middleman for people when they are direct to consumer. It's just between you and that business. And liability issues always are a possibility, because if that business does something to harm someone, they can face being sued into oblivion and to being out of business. Or if they're extremely harmful, they'll have to deal with criminal charges for doing so. So there still are repercussions for a business if they do harm to an individual, even if government isn't scrutinizing how they're going about doing that. So, like I said, I do my best to just educate people as much as possible as to a different way of government operating, to provide security to the community and alleviate some of those concerns.
Yeah, people don't realize. Think of how many recalls you see on the news about food. That was all FDA approved food.
Right.
And what they do is they make the outbreak bigger and wider because they help spread it. Yeah. I had this progressive hippie guy I knew, and he just hates libertarians, and he was talking smack about he put up some stupid meme that had like Ron Paul, and like Ayn Rand went into a bar and they ordered a drink, but they all died because the FDA didn't approve it. And I just texted back. I said, when was the last time your weed was FDA approved? Man, pissed him off real quick.
Right. Or your alcoholic beverage.
Yeah.
You go to a bar or something like that, you could still die from alcohol poisoning or whatever the case may be. So the libertarian revolution is all about taking over government so we can leave you alone. Yeah. And a lot of people don't think that that's a great thing because they've been conditioned into government telling them how to live their lives. So without government taking this position as a parent, pretty much, it's this parental role where they're telling you what to eat, when to eat it, what to drink, when to drink it, how to drink it, where you should be getting it from, etc. People feel a bit lost. So that's how you know that we've been mentally conditioned to thinking like an enslaved population.
Yeah,
we definitely should be getting away from that. America has deep roots in enslavement. So if anything, we should be doing everything as a body of people to move away from that in every way, shape, and possible.
It reminds me, like the parental aspect of that is so true. Like I have, as a music teacher, I have students who obviously their parents have really nurtured their independent nature, and the kids, they grow up better than the kids who really want people to make the decisions for them and really can't really function. I look at some kids that I teach sometimes, and I feel terrible for them. I'm like, man, I don't know how this kid's really gonna deal with real life. Like I had this one little girl, like whenever she would struggle, her mom would come and pull her out of the class and give her 5 minutes to get her emotions together. And I was like, oh man, how's this going to work for this poor little kid when she goes out and gets into the workforce someday?
Right.
She doesn't know how to deal with things on her own. Her whole thing is just being traumatized and embracing that trauma and embracing all this anxiety. And that, going back to COVID, they all these government things, all this force they didn't think about the negative side effects of what they were doing. And like I see so many kids, I never heard a child before 2020 talk about being anxious. Now it's a daily thing for me, talking to kids about their anxiety, and I didn't even know the word anxiety when I was in elementary school.
Right, or let alone even know how to spell it.
Yeah,
But
it's
right. Our youth is definitely being coddled in so many ways, but that's because parents themselves have been coddled up until now. Not only by maybe their own parents, but as I said, the government taking this parental type of role, coddling the public and trying to tell them everything's going to be okay as long as I'm in control versus people being in control of themselves. So we should be promoting more independence with our youth, with our community in general, just the public, and our society should be promoting more independence as individuals. So I don't have much time left, but I definitely would like to focus on promoting that once I get in office. And so hopefully the people of Fresno will give me that opportunity. They'll do some research on the candidates that are running for office instead of voting haphazardly. A lot of people just see signs up around town and say, well, I'm going to vote for that guy because they have the most signs or because
they got the right letter next to their name.
Yeah, exactly. Versus doing their due diligence to research candidates, find out what they're planning to do and proposing to do once they're elected, and see what they stand for. And I'm looking forward to having that chance once I get elected.
Who are your opponents?
The current city councilman. He's the only incumbent running in this race because all the other city council members are termed out. So right now we're on the odd years in Fresno. We have 7 districts, so we're voting out districts 1, 3, 5, and 7. So 1, 3, and 7, as I said to you before, pretty much are brand new people running for office. But here in District 5, we had a special election last year where the city councilman that would have been termed out got elected to be a county supervisor. So he vacated his position in March and someone else got elected. That guy, he's been in office for about a year. His name is Brandon Vane, and a lot of people don't know much about him. I mean, he talks more so about all of his accomplishments that he's done in the past year, but they're mainly because of his predecessor actually pushing and getting the ball rolling on those projects before he even took office, whether it be a new street light or a park or whatever the case may be. He's coming on now to claim that he did those things. He did not. And late towards the election last year, there was a bit of a scandal that he was involved in because it had been made public that he had impregnated a 15-year-old girl when he was 21. And so a lot of people overlooked that fact because it just pretty much got glossed over by the media. But this was somebody that essentially committed statutory rape when they were 21 years of age, but was not held accountable for it. He wasn't criminalized for it or sent to jail. So, people shrugged their shoulders and pretty much moved on. And we should be looking at that person's past, taking it into account, and vote accordingly.
Absolutely. Yeah, I absolutely agree. So I know you got limited time. So you got anything you'd like to start wrapping up with and letting everybody know, like where they can reach you on social media, donate, or come out and help you promote your
Yes, indeed. Yes, we got a couple of weeks until Election Day. Election Day is June 2nd, but people already have their ballots, so they're mailing them in. Early voting started about a week ago, so people are already mailing in their ballots. Early voting has began. So if you have your ballot in Fresno, if you plan on voting early, please find out more about the candidates, especially me. You can find out more about me by visiting my Crowd Blue page. It's crowdblue.com/C/Nickolas Wildstar, just like my name says right there on the screen. You can also find me on Facebook under the same name as well, and on Instagram as Governor Wildstar, and on TikTok as Governor Wildstar as well. And I'm also on Twitter. My Twitter handle is The Real Q Ball. Q like Queen, B like boy, A like apple, double L like LL Cool J. So please connect with me, find out more about me as a candidate, and support my campaign however you can. Even though I'm nearing the end of this campaign for the primary, it's a possibility that I may get enough votes to proceed to the general election in November. So keep your eyes on that, because the top two candidates that end up with the most votes in the primary proceed to the general election in November. That's why it's imperative that you take action now and participate in the primary election. That way you can X out any incumbents or any other candidates that you don't want on the ballot in November. You got to vote for that candidate now and make sure your vote counts. And the best way that you can do that is by connecting with the candidate, like me, find out about their campaign. Like I said, I'm nearing the end of the campaign, but you can still donate. I'm asking for $26 from anyone and everyone to help me buy more flyers, posters, boosts on Instagram and Twitter or whatever for posts that make you pay to play. And a lot of these candidates, they are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions, just to secure a public position where they get paid a fraction of that money. You got to wonder why they're paying so much money to do that. And that's because they want to have that political power to change the laws, create laws to make it more beneficial for themselves. The majority of the time we end up finding that afterwards, but it's time that we start taking action, be proactive, and get involved in the elections now.
Absolutely. Well, I sure appreciate people like you running for office and trying to help make it a more free society for all of us.
Indeed. Hey, it's my pleasure. I'll continue to keep striking while the iron is hot, keep putting myself out there to fight for liberty, fight for we the people, fight for our freedom, fight for our rights. It's up to us and each and every one of us to do our duty as Americans to fight back against the tyrannical government. So as Frederick Douglass said, you either got to do so by the ballot box, by the jury box, or by that ammunition box. That's the worst case scenario. But if we want to refrain from having to get to that ammunition box, and we can jump in that jury booth, exercise your right for jury nullification, inform your fellow jurors, get in that ballot box, vote for these candidates that promote liberty, and definitely do everything that you can to take action, because it is up to each and every one of us.
Yep, absolutely. Well, thank you very much, sir. And I look forward to having you back on the podcast. Hopefully we'll have you back as an elected official next time.
I would love that. Let's do that.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, I do appreciate you for having me, and look forward to speaking with any and all of you again. Long live liberty.
Yeah, absolutely, sir. And thanks to everybody for listening to this episode of Libertarian Los Angeles on the Liberty Blues Network. If you want to find me on X, I'm at Mad Sean Osborne. The podcast is also on YouTube. Usually comes out a little bit after the audio version. My page is Sean Osborne on YouTube, or at Mad Sean Osborne. And you can also find my music wherever you stream music, and on YouTube. My latest album is Free People. Think of Woody Guthrie minus the communism. There's also a nice playlist on Spotify that features libertarian musicians called Indie-tarian. I would love for you to check it out and help us out with the algorithms. And make sure, again, to follow the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. share it with your friends, and leave a comment. Even if you hate it, that's good. Just let us know. I don't mind hearing complaints if you don't like it. I'm not soft. So we'll see you on the next episode.